What's up, weirdos? What's going on, guys? All right, so we got a special presentation today. I promised you guys we would cover the XDB chain spaces, their layer 2, and how things are going to be played out, how this is going to be a game changer. Guys, we covered this on our Patreon exclusive live stream with Maximus Crypto and Rule Black yesterday. We covered XDB Chain. This is one of the gems we got into very early over on the Patreon, my friends. Check this out. If you want to get in early on these kinds of projects, guys, join a community of thousands of other people today. We do swing trades, copy pro trading, micro cap gems. We're live every single day. Check it all out, guys. My apologies. I'm very sick today. But anyway, without further ado, I will leave you guys to it. I will be back afterwards and we will discuss. All right. Enjoy the show, my friends.
GM, if you can. Okay. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. You're welcome to today's AMA session. I'm Braid, CM, XDB Chain. We had Daniel here, but okay, he's back. One minute, guys. Okay, GM, everyone. It's so bugged. A lot of bugs on X. Danielle, if you can hear me, just say
Yeah,
hi.
well, it's super buggy. I don't know what's going on with this with this product. This was a
Yeah,
nightmare. Um,
yeah,
really complicated. This is maybe the
really.
third mobile
Yeah.
trying to log in. Super, it's a
Hopefully they work
nightmare.
on it. Hopefully they get to work on it. So, once again, welcome everyone. You're welcome to today's X, and I'll be your host for today's special AMA. And thank you guys for joining. So today we have the CEO XDB Chain, Danielle, and he's here to share some really exciting updates on how XDB Chain is really scaling. And this is actually a big step for our ecosystem, and we're going to explore what it means, these updates, the L2 scaling, and how it will help us to be fast and efficient and also future growth. So, if you have questions, as the AMA progresses, kindly drop it in the comment section. And if you also want to talk after Daniel shares his update, you can also request to speak. So I will leave the floor open to Daniel. Daniel, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. And sorry for the 20 minutes late.
Yeah,
People being on time. Hopefully we don't miss people, who set an alert on their calendar to join this because it was abruptly
yeah.
disconnected because the session was initiated from a laptop and it seems to be spaces on laptop.
Mm-hmm.
It's terrible. So, and today where I am right now, it's raining cats and dogs and I'm using Starlink. And unfortunately, my Starlink is down as well. So it seems to be Elon's today. He's on a bad luck.
Oh my.
He's on a bad luck day. So I will not drive a Tesla today, okay?
Oh
So
my.
no, yeah. What might happen if I drive? All right. Yeah. So I think um, I would like to give to our amazing community the full framework, which brought us actually where we are today, pitching for the very first time L2 scaling. And it's 4 p.m. GMT, so 6 p.m. CET, 5 p.m. in the UK. Many people already in kind of holiday mood. So, but at least we have this, which stays on our X profile. People can re-listen because I think what we're going to say today is a fundamental importance of this project going forward. Okay, let's go straight to the topic, which is L2. Back in the days, if you remember, we discussed about, okay, when smart contracts coming on XDB chain, When layer 2, when scaling, can we get, can we upgrade to the current 10,000 transactions per second on layer 1 to 1 point something million, as we, anticipated back in the date. And that was essentially by leveraging the so-called Soroban smart contracting platform, which Stellar has been building. But I was not entirely at ease with this, because essentially we were copycatting something I was a bit doubtful about. I will go through this with plenty of details. But during this reflection and kind of a sleepless night, then I said, okay, why don't we go to the EVM path? And then again, it started in a fashion that thousands of other projects has already followed, which is essentially trying to optimize the technology for developers instead of really working on the first principles manner, saying, okay, what do we actually need to build because the real world is asking for? Without any shortcuts, let's what the real world works, and then let's build it. Yeah, I understand there's Soroban, there's layer 2 on Ethereum, EVM, so forth. But this is essentially you already start by not answering the question and you put yourself in motion. And today I want to explain to you the full framework which led us to bring in the journey which we started a few weeks ago, which I will unveil first time ever today. So first of all, let's go to the reality check. And I would like to address, something which has been bothering me about our industry first. Then I go more in details on the XDB chain part. So I call it the great EVM copying epidemic. So we are living through, what I call the great EVM copying epidemic. If you look around the blockchain space today, you see, I counted 50 plus chains, which are all making essentially the same promise. We are like Ethereum, but we are faster and cheaper. So in a word, we are better. Okay. So, and every week or almost every month, there is a new announcement, ChainX launch EVM compatible layer 2 with XYZ transaction per second, or whatever chain name is, supports Solidity smart contracts. Those narratives are narratives for developers. You want to excite a community of developers with a higher number of transactions per second, or with the fancy features to support the general purpose use case, which is what smart contracts are supposed to do or supposed to address. Now, the entire industry so somehow has become obsessed with one, and I would say mostly one question: how can we copy Ethereum better? And in my view, this is kind of, we are solving a yesterday problem with an even before yesterday thinking. And then we need to change a bit on how to reverse this, because at the end of the day, we are building the infrastructure for the real world, and the real world needs to use it. And if the real world does not see this infrastructure reliable, cheap, simple, they will never use it if we add complexity on top of something that today works okay since quite some time. And let me get to the first point I want to address, which is the enterprise disconnect, which is the current blockchain infrastructure. Is it ready to be widely adopted from an enterprise standpoint? Well, I give you just an example of a meeting we had with one of the major payment institutions in the UK. We got a nice meeting in London a couple of years ago, and we were discussing about payments on the blockchain. And then obviously this meeting got prepared from them with a set of R&D. They came with tons of stats, and they say, okay, you're proposing payment solution of your nice chain, XDB, whatever. But so we know that X percentage of users in crypto are on Bitcoin network. Another percentage is on Ethereum, and then you have a marginal share on your chain, which is nice. You want to you want to promote the use of your chain. You want to give the highest incentive, fine. But we know by crunching those numbers that 90% plus will pay, using Bitcoin or Ethereum network. How can someone, just to buy a $4 coffee, pay XYZ in gas fee and then wait 3 minutes or even 1 minute? It's not possible. It doesn't work. And whatever, add-ons you put on top, that's not what we're looking for. So it was a nice presentation. It was a very harsh end because at the end of the day, it did not bring us anywhere. Even worse. So we didn't know exactly how to address this point unless XDB Chain get the same users on the Bitcoin and Ethereum network, so we can show most of the users are here trust that our chain is significantly better on the layer 1 because XYZ. That's the reason why it's useful. But it was not the main, I would say, pitch. And then it led us with nothing. And even worse, we didn't know how to address these points. And even worse, what we thought is that the blockchain industry, it seems, is building for developers, not for the people who actually use this technology, which is average users. Then I came back home that night in London. I came back with a checklist, which I have in front of my mind right now, and I will share with you. I put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points. And I said, okay, first of all, coffee shop doesn't care about smart contracts, composability. A luxury brand doesn't need DeFi yield farming. A gaming company doesn't want to explain gas fees to players. A remittance company can't operate with unpredictable transaction costs. A real estate investor wants to trade property tokens instantly, not to wait for a blockchain confirmation. That's a fundamental point, and I will go through it later. So the confirmation block, it's kind of a very big friction in the way the real world works today. I'm talking about payments and value transfer as a whole. An art collector needs seamless authentication and transfer of tokenized assets. And finally, a supply chain manager requires instant payment upon delivery verification. All those 7 points were somehow brainstormed as a reality check and saying, unless we don't hardly address this, I don't think we go anywhere in the real world, really bring this mass adoption, okay? So every solution in the market is optimized for the same thing, which is running on a smart contract complex platform in a faster and cheaper manner. That's not what the real world was. At least in our understanding of the real world, I don't think this is what really needed. What is the real world asset problem? Because XDB Chain, and particularly XDB, is a RWA, so a real world asset. And it took some time to explain why branded interactions and in general, branded assets are real world assets. The most valuable asset in the world, which is real estate, if you look the whole wealth distribution, I think real estate accounts for more than 50% out of 900 trillion or approximately wealth distribution. 500 are real estate or kind of financial derivatives in the real estate world. Commodities, and then we can even add luxury goods and intellectual properties as a whole, as a category. They remain largely untokenized. Yes, there are some examples of tokenized property in Dubai and other jurisdictions, but essentially the big chunk of wealth, trillions of assets, are untokenized. Why? Because existing blockchain infrastructure cannot handle the payment flows. When I say payment, let's make sure we understand each other. For me, payment is a real, it's a real world asset transfer or value transfer. Payment, it's much more the functional way to describe a value transfer, not necessarily buying goods and service, okay? As a whole, it's a value transfer in general. I would say they remain largely untokenized because the existing infrastructure cannot handle the payment flows that real asset requires. And if you look at the current world and how the blockchain moves to the real world, I don't think this topic is marginally addressed. I think it's not addressed at all. Even though some, Jack Dorsey keep on asking or keep on saying, Bitcoin should be back, a P2P electronic cash system. I think we are nowhere near to the vision of bringing these use case to the real world. And when we say payment, as I said before, is a value transfer. Don't think necessarily to use your Bitcoin to pay for the coffee, even though obviously this is a use case. To me, it's a marginal use case, but it's a use case, obviously, that this infrastructure should support seamlessly. And then I want to get to the second bullet point. The first, as I said, it was mostly so the enterprise disconnect and the reality check. And the second is I would call it the Hyperledger Paradox. This slightly introduce what we are going to do. Maybe you have heard about Hyperledger. And I want to, introduce this topic, slowly before jumping eventually, if you have time, into the tech details. So let me, let me describe something which is I find extremely fascinating. I discovered this while researching for this presentation, actually. And do you know how many major non-EVM layer 1 blockchain have built layer 2 solutions on Hyperledger to achieve EVM compatibility? You should be surprised because the answer is 0. Let me repeat. Do you know how many major non-EVM layer 1 blockchain? Which means essentially, if you take layer 1, non-EVM layer 1, I should be pretty clear. For example, Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, okay, it's kind of EVM, even though it's kind of, okay, you can consider it. And how many of them have built layer 2 solutions using Hyperledger to achieve EVM compatibility? So layer 1 that are non-native EVM have used Hyperledger to scale on a layer 2 fashion to get to this EVM compatibility, and the answer is 0. That's very weird because we've been involved in quite some occasions to build private blockchains with the goal to become public, and obviously with routes to get into the XDB chain ecosystem. We have, and I personally have, experience into this field. But I can tell you that Hyperledger is the gold standard for enterprise blockchain infrastructure. But the public blockchain space has completely ignored in favor of copying Ethereum architecture. I really don't get it. Why? I don't understand why. Or maybe I understand. And because copying EVM, copying Ethereum, it becomes status quo. Meaning, you don't even ask hard questions. You say, I just want to get EVM exposure. I need to have something simple, to address the same use cases, but then to claim that I'm better, I'm cheaper, blah, blah, blah. Then I'm seeking for EVM compatibility. So I build on Ethereum. Okay. I build a layer 2 on Ethereum. Or if I layer 1 non-EVM, I'm something else. I'm building layer 2 on existing layer 2, or at least I build on top of Ethereum. So I build a layer 2 on top of Ethereum, which kind of contradicts my integrity of being a layer 1, which kind of compete or have a different philosophy than Ethereum. So it's like we at XDB Chain building a layer 2 on top of Ethereum. I would be pissed if I was a community member of a project which I follow. At a certain point, the founder comes to me and say, "Hey, we're building a layer 2 on another chain because blah blah blah," some bullshit narrative. We're not doing this, because if we build a layer 1 as XDB Chain, is because we feel that the foundations on XDB Chain are rock solid to scale up to layer 2 by keeping the same philosophy which led us to build a layer 1. So what is this philosophy? What led us to take some technical decision which bring us where we are today, where we're moving forward? Everyone is chasing the same developers, the same use case, the same speculative markets, which is nice. We love the existing Ethereum developers. We love the existing use case. We also understand that speculation is part of human nature. Somehow, speculation and utility are two faces of the same coin. But who is building for the enterprise use cases that actually need the blockchain technology and not the other way around? Who is doing that? Here we are. This is what we want to do, actually. So we don't really care about how many transactions per second we can handle, and I will give you more details about that. We explain that right now layer 1 can handle up to 10,000 transactions per second. And when we somehow share these numbers, obviously we do tests, but the tests are done into, let me say, kind of a fake environment. Fake environment means we have nodes operating, in different geographies. We try to simulate a workload, a balanced workload to the chain to see how many transactions can be handled within the unit of time. And then you get to a number. But those are, let me say, ideal tests. They are not real world tests. They are not production tests. So I wanted to see, for example, out of a number of transactions that a chain reached today, 1,000, 1,000,000, 1,billion, doesn't care. How many of those transactions happen in the real world to transfer real world asset or real world value, fraction of a fraction of a fraction of it? So the numbers of blockchain transactions we see today are mostly transactions which happen into specific use case. Could be DeFi, could be yield farming, could be peer-to-peer trading. But we focus at real world value transfer. And we need to address this as the utmost use case that we need to address with the better or with the best possible user experience. And in simple word, this number of what you see as a transaction per second, they are theoretical, they're not real world. So they have achieved by sacrificing decentralization or security. Somehow, you wanna push this number, you can. Obviously, you relax some checks, you relax validations, and you can reach millions of transactions per second. But definitely, you need to have a compromise to get to this point. And in any case, they optimize for simple transfer, not for real application, workloads. So when you actually try to use them at scale, they don't deliver, or at least they very seldom deliver, I would say. And the uncomfortable truth is most of these scalable chains have never processed more than a few thousand transactions per day in the real usage. I can tell you, in the case of XDB Chain, we get to a point where we reach 50,000 transactions in a day, but they are real world transactions. Real world, I mean, we have real world applications running on the chain. We have a game, we have payment, we have right now decentralized exchange, which have no automated market maker with liquidity pool. So this means it's through atomic swap functionality that people can use for real world transfer. So you want to swap token A with token B. in the real fashion. And those, at least, we feel comfortable to say they are real transaction. And you need to compare when you see numbers happens on chain, what is real versus what is augmented, not fake, augmented. Okay. And so what is our, I would call it, revolutionary approach? So I would say while everyone is asking, how can we make a blockchain faster? We have been asking a different question, which is, what do business actually need from a blockchain technology? Because obviously, when you build something, you are the first believer that you are the best. You have the best product. You're addressing real world stuff, and you nail it. Sometimes, it's confirmation bias. Let's ask truthfully, what do businesses actually need from the blockchain technology? And I ask founders, I ask CEOs, what do you expect from technology? And they all answer the same. We imagine blockchain as an instantaneous technology, better than everything being achieved with the internet, with the Web 2, with the client server approach, and so on and so forth, with the existing cloud and whatever. I want to say everything we've been doing so far, we expect blockchain doing better. Okay. I would say in a simple sentence, so they were looking for reliability, instant settlement, cost-effective payments or value transfer that integrate seamlessly with existing business operations and enable real-world asset monetization. They're not expecting yield farming, complex DeFi protocol, NFT marketplace. That's for crypto, crypto OGs as we are, but it doesn't sound loud to the enterprise and to the business world. And we wanted to build something like we can call it payments for everything, from daily coffee to multi-million dollars real estate transaction. Why can't do this on our technology? Asset tokenization that really works. Well, luxury watches, real estate, commodities, and intellectual property can be bought, sold, traded. As easy as sending a text message, which is kind of an interoperable standard across mobile operators. So then this led us to take, I call it the anti-EVM decision. What is this? It's a crazy one. Yes, I think it's a crazy one, but it is a decision. And I think we'll move forward with this decision and will not step back. So instead of building another EVM compatible chain, this is what, we observe the market and it keeps on doing this and this and this. We decided to take a complete different direction, to build something fundamentally different. So that's why we started with the layer 1, Stellar. We forked it. We have our own infrastructure. Stellar processed over 6 billion of real world transaction with financial institution. They are ISO 222 compliant. They are payment optimized. And so XDB Chain is by inheritance, okay, on the layer 1. And is actually scalable. But now we are diverting from the Stellar approach. So Stellar decided to go one way on vertical integration of the so-called Soroban platform. We will not do that. So we are building a layer 2 optimized for payments, not for smart contracts. Let me repeat, we are building layer 2 optimized for payments, not for smart contracts. It doesn't seem, and I can explain you why. Payments or value transfer is a specific set of use case with specific needs or SLAs. When you go for a route, say, I want to optimize layer 1 to be smart contracts compatible, you are sacrificing the specific benefits you need to deliver to be optimized for value transfer. You sacrifice in order to get an edge, to be a general purpose blockchain because you're seeking for smart contracts compatibility. This is not what we're looking for, okay? What is the breakthrough for that? So payment channels for value transfer for us is the killer app for layer 2 and is not a general purpose computation. This is Ethereum, layer 2 and Ethereum. We love that. We keep on supporting because we are part of the industry. The industry is still small. We want to grow together, but that's not our journey. Okay. And I would say while others building layer 2 solutions to run complex smart contracts faster, so meaning they want to optimize computational power for smart contracts, compatibility, and I would say enhancements, we are building layer 2 to make payments so efficient they become invisible. So efficient they become invisible. We would like, this is not something we're going to achieve at the beginning of the launch of the layer 2, but we want to reach a point where we get instantaneous transaction happening on chain. Instantaneous. In order to do so, I think you're familiar with XDB Chain. XDB Chain generates network block every approximately 5 seconds, a little bit more, 5 point something. On the launch of the layer 2, this L2 solution will generate a block every second. But our goal is to generate a block on a fraction of a second in the future with the experience to create almost instantaneous settlement with almost free transactions. We are taking a complete different approach from layer 2 solution. What is the technical innovation out of this? I would say, to repeat, traditional layer 2 approach is, okay, you take a complex smart contract platform, let's say Ethereum, you take it, to a higher level of complexity, but you move everything off chain. That's the traditional approach. You submit complex proofs back to the layer 1 because you need to have settlement happening on the layer 1, but all the complexity and the computational complexity you handle off chain. And then you hope it scales better than the original, which is Ethereum in this case. What is our approach? So the layer 1 is already highly optimized to handle, payments up to 10,000 transactions per second with almost, the cost of a transaction right now is about 6 millionth of a dollar. So it's a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a dollar, of a penny, sorry. We want to reach an even more ambitious, I would say, goal to get transaction to be substantially almost free, I would say. But even more, we want them to be confirmed instantaneously or almost instantaneously. So layer 1 is what I described. We want to create payment channels for instant off-chain transaction. Only settlement data goes to the layer 1. By doing this, we're going to achieve true payment scalability. I hope you really understand how this is so different and how this is our own journey. We're not copying, we're going on our journey, and we go straight. I will not go into the, I would say, deep technical details, but let me give you two, I would say, two relevant, I would say, technical detail information. Then I think I will ask Faith if you can select some questions, because I would like also to listen to, what you guys think. So we're gonna scale this by using a Hyperledger framework. And the consensus algorithm will be IBF, which is the iterative Byzantine fault consensus algorithm, or IBF 2.0. What is the similarity with the FBA, which is the Federated Byzantine Agreement? We have fundamental of the I would say the design, it's pretty the same. So they are both consensus mechanism which are designed to achieve agreement in a kind of distributed network, even when some participants may act maliciously or fail. So they both belong into the broader family of Byzantine fault tolerance consensus mechanism. And of course, the native coin of the layer 2 will be XDB. So, and the XDB on the layer 2, so the native coin of the layer 2 will still be XDB. That's why it's so unique, because layer 1, layer 2 will have the same native coin. But then the amount that circulate on layer 2 will be removed or will be locked from the amount that circulate on layer 1, because total supply, circulating supply, the burn supply will be consistent all the time, and then we'll enable smart contracts between layer 1, layer 2, and dApps, making sure a full tokenomics consistency. And at the end of the day, what is going to happen is that so the layer 2 XDB chain on the layer 2 will be EVM compatible with any tools running on the EVM ecosystem. So, for example, MetaMask. You're going to see, there will be dedicated RPC from MetaMask to connect to the layer 2, so the XDB chain layer 2, and then you will be able to handle layer 2 tokens in your MetaMask. But then, obviously, we want to provide the community with the biggest advantage to be on XDB chain. Obviously, there's layer 2 and layer 1, but then there will be kind of a set of use cases that will be balanced between the layer 2 and the layer 1, with still the unique advantage of being on XDB chain. And then we will not seek to become a general purpose, because we want to be progressively the blockchain of choice when it comes down to enterprise adoption within the payments and the instantaneous settlement. That's, I can go through tons of other details, but I think, Faith, if you want to pick up some questions, I don't know whether you picked up, I can go through it without any particular selection criteria. I'm happy to answer to any questions you guys might have.
Okay, thank you, Danielle. I really enjoyed today's EMA session, and for those who do not know what we are about, I think today's EMA session gave a brief about who we are and where we're heading to. It's really amazing and exceptional that XDB Chain is focused, and like you said, we are a blockchain for brands. We build with brands in mind, and with these developments, I'm really excited for the future. Looking at how much value we tend to give to brands who would integrate with XDB Chain. Looking at the fact that it's optimized to be fast, low cost of payment, and like you said, integration will be quite simple. So
yeah, I tweeted today actually
with this development.
Yeah, no, I tweeted today.
Also hold our XDB tokens on MetaMask. So.
Yeah. I mean, I just want to give the full framework. There's a tons of details, but obviously I don't want to to provide an over complexity for the full framework. But I think these type of sessions, specifically the questions or the questions we're going to have in the coming days or weeks, help us to build a better product. That's why it's so important to share the full strategic framework. And today, just for fun, but it reflects very simply all these thoughts that running into our heads, which are, summarized, can be summarized, you rightfully said, Faith. And I treated something like, they build for banks, we build for brands, which is, what in summary,
exactly.
this is all about.
Okay, so with the fact that we're building for brand, I think one of the first questions someone asked is Fiat integration into the DEX. So what would you want to say to that? When do we plan on integrating Fiat option into the DEX?
Okay, so let me make a disclaimer. When so you ask me when, it's highly likely that I'm wrong, because I'm always over optimistic with the developers and with all the people working in the team. And there's always a tendency to be over optimistic when it comes down to building something, because you have a lot of unknowns.
Yeah.
Whatever I'm going to say, and I will not give a precise date, I would be wrong. Okay, because this happened so many times in the past, which led us to delusions, which I truly understand. But I cannot do better. So, but I will, specifically address the topic, not with the when, but with the how and what we are doing, which is
Okay.
I can slightly rephrase it, which is, are we working are we working to integrate so kind of an on-ramp on the existing dApps? So the answer is yes. And right now we are working with three solutions actually, and we are with one we are in kind of QA in a testing environment, because we changed a bit the approach. So using iframe or using APIs, but in essence, so our goal is to have widgets on the dApp that we run, and essentially right now there are two, which are the DEX and the XDB's game. And obviously there will be external applications which are likely to be integrated with this on-ramp gateway. One is the CBPay global platform, which accounts more than 50,000 active users, which is absolutely amazing, actually. And so, in essence, our goal is to have a simple on-ramp system, which is worldwide compliant. So when I say worldwide compliant, we're seeking for US compliance as well. And this is one.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I got these questions, and I am the first to address these questions, which is we were not really looking at solutions which are not addressing US compliance. So whatever solutions we're going to unveil will be compliance with the US users and US customers. So, but yes, I think it's I don't want to say exactly when, but we are actively working to implement this as soon as we can. So we are working with three solutions right now.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So, guys, you've heard it from Daniel. Soon. Okay, so I think you mentioned something about the game, and the community is quite like most of the questions here about the game, especially B5. So maybe you want to like give little comments about B5, the plans, maybe withdrawal in the future, or anything about the game, since it's part of our product,
Yeah, I mean the game. So XDB's game. It's pretty good. It's a pretty nice exercise when it comes down to build up, I would say, real world use cases on chain. As you know, the philosophy of the game, regardless of I would say the purpose of the game itself, so the gaming experience, is to vertically integrate the application, which is the game and the gaming framework, through the blockchain. So every gaming users have an on-chain address, and every activity which the game is triggering is registered on-chain. So this means the game is, sending messages to the layer one for every single transaction. Either you spin the wheel, or you win an NFT, or you win a prize. There's always an on-chain transaction happening on the layer one. And I can tell you, we've seen very interesting statistics. I don't want to spoil right now, but this is one of the, by very meaningful metrics, this game has produced, by the number of users, which are a few thousands, has produced a very interesting adoption metric. So now is the time to scale. But in order to scale, we just wanted to make sure not to, I would say, overly excess. So I would say create an excessive workload to the layer one. The reason why we delayed a bit, versus what we initially thought, the withdrawal of BFI, the swap, and eventually the deposit of a token you swap on the DEX, is because we were concerned about the layer one and layer one traffic. So first of all, we just wanted to have an assurance that layer two will come. And now I'm telling you it will come, because we have completed the design phase and we are working on the development as we speak. So that's we address this point, meaning in whatever capacity the game will evolve, we have a layer two solution which will enable us to scale the game potentially to millions of users. Of course, right now there are thousands of users, but we have the ambition to bring millions of users. We need to have a solid framework. Today, we don't have a solid framework, because if 1 million users come on XDB's game, the layer one will stop working the next minute, because they will flood the layer one with transactions coming from the game, because the game was designed to register everything on chain without having the needed scalability to handle millions of users, but thousands of users. Now having a clear path towards layer two, and that's another something else I can share with you. We have almost completed the end game functionalities, as I call it, because the game itself contains nice experiments, the NFTs, spin the wheels, the mini games, but the end game experience is something that will come as a lead experience, while those that you see today will become kind of, I don't want to call it marginal. It seems to discount the value of what we built so far, which is great. But I just want to say that, for example, the NFT that today you win will enable something else on the main use case of the game. I don't want to unveil this because you're going to see once we release it. So the withdrawal of the BFI will obviously is important, but will become of a marginal importance when we deploy this, because you're going to see how cool will be the end game and how all those tools that today are the main use cases will become kind of add-ons, while the main use case will be something else. But it took some time to complete the design phase, and our last decision-making process was having a clear path towards layer two. So to answer to your question, it's not a strategic framework. I would say the roadmap for the game is to release the end game experience on the layer one. End game means a substantially better, I would say, gaming framework with the existing mini games and the spin the wheel, but with the main use case that we have already built. And obviously will be layer one compatible. We will enable BFI withdrawals. People can do whatever they want with BFI, can swap on the DEX, can use it on XDB wallet for transactions. And obviously we're seeking for broader compatibility for every token natively minted on XDB chain, like BFI, Honey, and others, to be part of either an off-ramp or an on-ramp system. That's the overall compatibility we're looking for. So that will come after we will enable on-ramp using mostly XDB on the rails, on the dApps we currently have, which are, as I said before, XDBs and the decentralized exchange. So, I understand it took more than expected, but it is significantly better than what we initially envisioned. And we are, I would say, weeks away from the release of this. We were worried about layer 2 scaling, and now we're no longer worried because we already taken the decision. So if the game, I would say, user base will grow from 1,000 users to 1,000,000 users, we have a plan to handle it. While 1 month ago, we didn't have it. That's why we were reluctant to deliver partial endgame. An endgame is not partial. Endgame, it means it works for 1,000, it works for millions. Well, at least you have a plan to support millions of users on chain. Now we have it.
Okay, that's perfect. So guys, from all Daniel is trying to say is with L2 in view, the community has so much to look out for. There is so much to look out for. And I think I want to take this last question, then maybe final words from someone from the community. So Daniel, please, in 1 minute, I want you to kindly, someone asked a question saying, what is the amount of transaction in USD per day do you think you can reach when brand that XDB? And what kind of brands do we aim for? Are we aiming for any kind of brand? Or
I can,
like
no. I can answer. So I don't want to give a rough number. I can give you the strategic thinking. We want to accelerate the buyback.
Okay.
We want to accelerate the usage on XDB chain, the utility, and we want to accelerate the buyback because our goal to get to the 10 billion XDB tokens in circulation as fast as we can, because it means the chain is highly used. Okay, so our goal is not to configure, all those use cases to say I want to reach, that amount of transaction in a month, a day, or a year. To me, that's pointless to say this exercise. I would rather say our goal is to bring as much utility as possible on chain, to bring brands on chain with the right argument. Okay, because the higher the number of the brands and the higher the number of transactions, the higher the set of use cases, the faster the transactions are, the faster we burn XDB to get to the 10 billion, which is not the end goal of this project, because the end goal of this project will be to grow in perpetuity, even beyond the supply of the 10 billion XDB. Because once we get to 10 billion, our goal within the core team will be to buy back as many XDB as we can from the market, as Apple is doing right now on their stock program. Okay, so this means our goal is to accelerate the buyback and burn as fast as we can to get to the 10 billion and beyond. And whatever number suits to get to this target, it works okay for me.
Great. So the second part of the question is, what kind of brands do we aim for? Do we have like a specific kind of brand we're looking out for, or any brand can fit into XDB chain?
There are different type of brands. So I would say in general, well, we're talking about, I would say ecosystem, which are users ready, products ready in the real world. And the brand is the cherry of the cake. We're looking for real world, I don't want to say conglomerate. Conglomerate is pretty a bad word. But in the use case with the prospects brand that we are working right now, we are moving forward with different approaches. At the end of the day, there's just one common use case, which is they want to use a crypto into everyday transaction. And whatever transaction means, meaning making a purchase using e-commerce or buying a product and service which unlock something. We talked about loyalty programs, so on and so forth, but at the end of the day, what loyalty program is about It's like extending the journey from a transaction to an experience. So you go into whatever a brand location you are. It could be an e-commerce, could be a website, could be a retail store. And then you make a transaction, typically it's a payment. And then from a payment, you want to extend the journey with the engagement with the brand in a loyalty program where you can do something more and engage even more the consumer. The whole, this whole process has to be part of the brand experience we want to improve. Okay. So we're not seeking specifically, for example, a retail brand. Okay, retail brand, of course, is interesting. We're not necessarily looking for a bank to build an enterprise use case. We're not necessarily looking for an agri-tech company to build, I would say, NFT certificates to certify they have been extremely good at polluting the environment, for example. But all these use cases can be addressed into XDB Chain as part of a branded token. Okay, so we don't have a specific use case saying, okay, this is built for banks, built for, I don't know, fashion, luxury industry. Because when it comes down to have either a retail use case or even a B2B use case that you want to address with our technology, it works well. And that's why having a layer 1 and layer 2, which is enterprise ready, enable us to be B2B2C, which means we can address both consumer and B2B use case with the same level of flexibility of optionality. So every industry, as long as there is a transaction which wants to be extended in a loyalty journey, it works okay. And I want to say loyalty just to make sure we all understand each other. It means brand engagement, brand experience. And everyone needs to create their own branded experience. In the age of AI, content creators will become a personal brand. And personal brand need to embrace this journey. Why not doing with us?
Okay, perfect. So consumer ready, product ready, and you're good to go. Okay, so that brings us to the end of today's AMA session. I don't know if we have anyone in the community that would want to give like a brief say, or just say something, maybe a shout out or whatever. You can just kindly request in a minute. You'll be done talking, then I think we'll call it for today's
I think it's important
so
over the next days, to get community feedbacks about the layer 2, because I think this will unlock endless potential of the development of a chain, because definitely we see some huge development within the EVM ecosystem, but we want to tackle the problem first without being stuck by some core limitation and then redesigning the core principle of why we're doing a layer 2. And today I explained the full framework, and I would like, as many feedbacks as possible from the community, because these will help us in building a better product.
Yeah, sure. I think if you're yet to join our Telegram channel, I think you should. Same with our Discord as well. We'd love to take your feedback, your suggestions. I think we also have a mail on Discord, so you can also drop it there. Same thing with our Telegram. We are across all socials, on Reddit, on X, so you can drop your feedback or your suggestions. So
All right, guys. So listen, big things coming out of XDB. If you don't know much about XDB, hopefully this was educational for you guys. Listen, they're not trying to be just another blockchain that brags about and leans on as a crutch their transactions per second. They have a lot of fast transactions per second, but that's not what they're going to use. You see all of these content creators talking about their favorite layer ones or layer twos, Caspa, whatever. They're constantly bragging about on their videos, trying to hype you up about it, saying blah blah blah. You know, this many transactions per second. Now, you as a general retail investor, most people, I know some do, but the majority of crypto investors don't give a crap about how many transactions per second, right? They want to know, does price go up at the end of the day? So what they're focusing on, XDB, they're not focusing on trying to brag and hype people up about how many transactions per second they can process, which is a lot. What they're trying to do is they're trying to focus on brand recognition. They're trying to focus on brand utility. They want that that adoption and real world utility. They want big brands using their network. That's what they're focused on, right? Which is massive, right? That's called staying power. That's called longevity. That's called focus, right? There's too many other blockchains out there, thousands, millions of them, bragging about how many transactions per second. And that's the only thing they have to stand on, right? They're trying to do more over here, guys. That's what you need to understand. So I'm hyped up. It is one of my favorite projects, guys. This is a gem we got into on the Patreon long time ago. We've been accumulating for quite some time. Let me know what you guys think. And listen, if you're new to crypto, if you've never been through a bull run before, guys, there is no shame in having your hand held by a community of people who've been through multiple bull runs, and we can help you devise your exit strategies, make your profit taking plans, all that fun stuff. It's less than a cup of coffee a day, my friends, okay? We just did multiple swing trades. We hit Gari the other day. We made a 500% return on that. Then we took profits and we got into XDB. XDB, like we did an extra swing on it. It's been pumping up over 20% at the time I'm recording this. It's getting ready to go full send, guys. Do not miss the boat. Get in early on these projects, swing trade opportunities, copy pro trading, one-on-one coaching calls live every single day. Check it out. The link is down in the description. Once again, it's the price of a cup of coffee a day, my friends. Check it out. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. I'll see you guys in the next one. God bless.